The purpose of this video is to identify your router online, find the settings for your router online, log on to your router without the disk, ensure your wireless router will accept the Wi-Fi enabled laptop, and identify the Wi-Fi unit's details on your laptop. The actual film has been made using a Wi-Fi enabled laptop. This will ensure that you can see the effective access that you could use if you have a router that doesn't have the disk but is Wi-Fi potentially enabled. I hope you enjoy the video. So you might have just received your Netgear router or a router similar to this, and you've got the aerial. Well, this is the Wi-Fi section of the aerial. The reason why I'm making this video is because I regularly go to different people's properties and I'm involved in connecting them online. They can't always find the CD that often comes in the box, and so therefore the first challenge they've got is how they're going to connect to their router. They can connect it online, but to go Wi-Fi, well, different ball game. But a key ingredient in this is to look behind at your Netgear or your router description. Let's explain a little bit more. Here you have your MAC address on the bottom, as well as the details of the actual router itself. Now, the reason why it's advantageous is because by going online we can find out more details about the router when we've lost the disk. So you've identified that you have a router. The sample of router that I'm showing you today is the Netgear DG834G. We've also identified that we're actually looking how to log in to the router. You may have received the router second hand, or you may have just received the router and you really want to know how to make better use of your router. So by typing into a Google search, and you can see I've done here details of it, I can click in to our Netgear router information, and I've got a whole series of potential links. Now again, let me remind you, you're looking just for the router that you've received. You've got details of the router, you've got the label, potentially you haven't got the disk, and you're sat there wondering, oh, what do I do with it next? Well, I'm going to be looking at this particular page here. I've already put it aside for this particular video, and you can see it's the Netgear router, and you can also see a certain amount of specific information about it. What it doesn't have immediately is the drive option or the settings behind it, but it has a significant more information about how to gain access to it. Now you could be using all sorts of other different routers, I accept that, but it does tell you a little bit, show you a little bit of information about the particular router. Most routers will have information that will be available like this online. There will be additional information. What I'm going to show you now is one way that some people have slightly struggled in gaining access to their setup. I've already been asked on one of the previous pages of previous videos that I've uploaded how to gain access to a router. Now, the first thing that you should be aware of is that on a page here, and I'm not showing you any information that's not already available, as you can see online, you have the HTTP reference, the IP address that is going to give you access to the router. Another key aspect you have is the default access to the router in this particular instance. So by taking that information, I can actually access the router connection. So as you can see, we're going straight to a fresh page. I'm adding it to it, and you'll see that it straight away puts up this particular aspect of our login process. It actually confirms that we are looking at Netgear. It also confirms it requires our admin and password. Now I'm going to pause the video briefly at this stage because I'm going to access the router that I'm currently operating on, and then you'll see the page as we proceed. Okay, so here we go again. We're now into the accessed details, and where I'm specifically going to go to is our wireless connection. The majority of people will not immediately think of checking their wireless access point. Now, I'm giving quite a lot of information here. I'm not going to go further down the page, but you can immediately see that this button here needs to actually be clicked on the router for the wireless access option to be available. And you'll also note further down that a WPA PSK code security option rather has actually been put onto it. This prevents other people gaining immediate access to my particular setup. Now, it is a good idea to put that in, or else anybody travelling past can actually gain access to your online resource. So I'm actually going to go to our setup access list at this particular point. Now I would add on the conversation here, or this particular video, that the setup access section, as you can see, already has 2 MAC addresses. I am actually accessing and making this video on a laptop rather than directly through a cabled connection into the router. So I'm actually using an access that's turned on to actually provide this particular setup. Now I could, for example, if a friend came along who needed temporary access to it, I can actually add their MAC address onto this setup to give them temporary access online within the vicinity of the signal strength. This would be quite a useful aspect if you've got somebody staying who needs to do some business through Wi-Fi access. It's a very practical setup, but it also gives you that bit of control that may be very beneficial to you. Okay, so you'd add that on, you'd apply the settings on, and that will give you the option of adding the additional MAC address of the laptop. Okay, I'm going to pause the video briefly at this stage. Okay, the next section I'm going to show you is how you can find out information about an adapter. You might have, for example, an external adapter in your setup. Now, go to Control Panel, you can go into Administrative Tools. From Administrative Tools, you have an area called Computer Management. Computer Management provides the following information. It can provide a device manager, and as you can see here, I'm using a network adapter, and I'm in actual fact using a Belkin Wireless G USB. Now, from the properties, obviously I can identify a good deal more information, including drivers and details like this, but that is a sort of area that you can actually identify information about your drivers, your MAC address, etc., information like that, if you're trying to ensure that you're logging on successfully. That is one of the options. So I'm hoping that this information will have been of use for you in locating the necessary resources to add your laptop onto your router. Thank you.